Hi, you guys. This is a special little extra video that we're doing. I'm Richard Sachs, from the host on Lost Arts Radio. And some of you who have been with us for a long time may remember the show with Brendan Murphy and Amy Devlin that was about their platform Truth that we wanted to introduce to everybody. And that's still live in Operation Platform, but this is not about that. Doug, our engineer, got a meme on Facebook the other day from another project that Brendan is doing, and it was an interesting meme that we'll post, or we already have posted on lostartsradio.com, and that was saying how to evolve yourself. It's a project that Brendan is putting together, and it's coming right up in the next few days, and I had never heard of it. It's a process that I personally have no experience with. I didn't really know what it is, and so I thought, well, we should get Brendan on and see what he's doing and what it's about, and see if he'd be willing to explain it for us in case some of you guys would want to investigate it further. So, hi, Brendan, and thanks for being with us on such short notice, and just really interested to hear about what you're doing.
Sure, thanks, Richard. Thanks for having me here, and thanks to you too, Doug. So I guess we want to talk about this whole program and get into some of the nitty-gritty.
Why don't you say something about how you came to be involved with it in the first place, and then what you're trying to do by presenting it now?
I lost the first half of your question, but I got the back half of it. So you're asking where we got how we came about or created the Evolve Yourself program?
Well, yeah. I mean, did you develop it yourself, or did you discover it, or what? How did you get involved with it? What have you done with it since then, and what's making you want to do some kind of presentation with it now?
Well, I guess I started doing sound. I started working with sound and doing a process called DNA activation. It's a specific kind of DNA activation called the regenetics method, which I found out about and actually became friends with the guy who originated it. And he got he went through this 10-year period of dark night of the soul, he had a serious vaccine injury, became autoimmune, couldn't eat, anything virtually, had to sleep 20 hours a day. And he spent 10 years trying to find a solution for his health, right? So, okay. Long story short, he, in the end, basically got these kind of downloads from, I guess you would say, the collective unconscious. He woke up from dreams, and he just had these codes that were vowel sequences, that were informational codes that actually communicate communicate with your DNA, particularly your quote junk DNA or mobile DNA. So
right.
He used they came through over time gradually.
Was this while he was sleeping or wide awake?
He told me that he woke up, and it was like as he woke up, there was just this. It was just there, like in his mind.
Just aware of it. Yeah.
Just aware of it. Like it just been dropped in his inbox.
Well, I know that time when you're just barely waking up and still half and half asleep. A lot of people get inspiration at that time, including me. So I understand that.
Yeah, because you're still tapped into that kind of creative part of the brain, that abstract part of the brain. And I guess, you're more open to the collective in that state as well. So that was sort of what happened to him, in long story short. And so I embarked on the process. I learned the technique. I got certified for it, and I did my own. I did the first ceremony for myself, which is called potentiation. And I knew before I even did it that it was something special that I needed to look into further and try it out.
Okay, Brendan, before you get into that, there's a period of time between when your friend discovered it and the time you're talking about now, right? Which is when he used it to help himself. So is it something that he applied to himself somehow, or how did that work? And what was the result?
Yeah, that's exactly what he did. He took these codes, and what they are in a nutshell is there's basically they're a vowel sequence that gets chanted continuously over the space of about approximately half an hour, give or take. And so that's what he did. He chanted these tones, and that was the beginning of his healing process after 10 years of struggle.
Right. Does the pitch matter when you say chanting, and I guess people have a general idea what chanting is. It's kind of non-melodic repetition of verses or something like that. So does it matter how, in other words, some people are doing healing sounds where it has to be an exact pitch and they'll assign it a frequency and everything. I assume this is not like that. This is just, it doesn't matter what the tone is.
I tend to think that, if you talk about the actual activations themselves, they actually are based, he subsequently based them on the tones on the solfeggio scale, the ancient solfeggio scale, which the Catholic Church suppressed going back quite some time, and they've sort of been rediscovered. So he said to me, because I was asking him about this, and he said that he feels like he probably instinctively was using 528 hertz as the tonality for the first activation, for potentiation, and then subsequently they incorporated more of the tones for the subsequent activations, the last three. So by the time you get to the third and fourth activations, you're using all 6 of the solfeggio tones, so you're using tuning forks at the same time as you're chanting with your voice.
Okay, that way it keeps you on tune, right? You know what pitch you're at.
Yeah.
And so he was doing this for himself, and what was his experience as a result of that?
Well, he was trying to remove or remedy his autoimmune condition, and the damage that had been done to him, right down to his, the level of his genetics. So he was kind of he wasn't looking for what he found. He got more than he bargained for. He healed his physical symptoms and all the disease, sort of the diseased state, but he also realized that what he had sort of downloaded was an evolutionary trigger as well. So it's sort of it wasn't just taking him back to where he used to be, it was taking him above and beyond it.
In terms of some kind of spiritual level lessons or something like that you're talking about?
Yeah, I guess you would say in terms of spiritual development, your state of consciousness and your level of embodiment, actual physical embodiment as a spiritual being, knowing who and what you are, but actually being able to sort of live from that place as well. So it was kind of this evolutionary trigger where that's how I see it anyway. And I've had a friend comment to me that they've done a friend who'd done a lot of plant medicine, and she said to me that the plant medicine was great and everything, but it did not help her to the same extent with the process of actually embodying herself, if that makes sense.
Well, how would you define embodying yourself? What does that mean?
I guess being really present and anchored in your physicality. A lot of us are we're very traumatized, right? As you know, and we've been really messed with. So a lot of us are really dissociated, and we're kind of half in, half out. A lot of us are hanging around nearby our bodies, but we're kind of not that keen to get right in there.
So some people might say what you're talking about is the sense of being grounded, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Not hanging out half out of your body or half in it, or not really in touch with your presence on the 3D plane. And I think you're saying it helped with that, right? And then he started teaching people how to do it?
So what, sorry, was that me or?
No, I'm assuming after the experience that he was having and he got better, he started teaching other people how to do it. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. He does, and he has been doing that. So there's a handful of people who've gone through the process of learning it and getting certified and all this kind of stuff. Yeah.
Which is what you did.
Yeah, I did that. I went and did it. I guess it took me probably a couple of years to get through the 4 levels of certification, and then I've been doing it for people for a while now. Yeah. And
is there a difference between doing it for other people and doing it for yourself?
I don't think so. Not in principle. No. I mean, as long as you get it, kind of know how to actually do it and get it right. And there's some leeway in terms of it doesn't have to be perfect, and you don't have to have your pitch 100% on, that kind of stuff. It's not 100% sort of, it's not about perfection, but if you know what you're doing and how to do it, then as long as that's the only thing that matters. It doesn't matter if someone on the other side of the planet does it for you or if you do it yourself.
Yeah. So what happened when you started doing it after you took the teaching from him?
Well, I had already, before I did that, I had already gone through the stages myself, the activations myself to get the certification. So, I mean, I've done my own potentiation for myself, and I found, it triggers a process that has its own kind of intelligent unfoldment that doesn't rely on your own willpower or your own kind of agenda. So it sort of taps into it's like a DNA sort of wakes up and goes, oh, okay, here's what we need to do, sort of thing. So what happens is dependent on the individual. So I had a whole bunch of stuff going on, which was like a lot of physical healing, like in my shoulder joints, and certain pains went away, and tension went away. I definitely started feeling more connected or embodied, more grounded. I noticed after the ceremony, I walked outside and I noticed I was definitely in an interesting little sort of borderline unity state of consciousness, which was nice. I mean, it does something. And then I noticed over the weeks and months these sort of subtle shifts that started happening, which included a spontaneous detox about 8 months later, actually.
Oh, interesting. And then did you start doing it for other people after that?
Yeah. So I don't remember exactly when I started, but it was a number of years ago. Yeah. So I put Amy through it as well, my partner.
Okay. And so what kind of things did you observe happening to them? I would imagine a wide range of things because they're also individual, right?
Yeah, exactly. So a lot of people, the first thing they notice is they get a lot more energy levels go through the roof. So that's one of the most consistent things. I've had people talk about pain going away. Like one of my recent people had made the comment that 80% of her pain was gone. And I don't know what she was dealing with. That was just something that she spontaneously sort of offered. So pain, detoxification processes, it helps also with parasites in the body and also like etherically as well. It seems to create a situation where it's harder for like astral type beings to latch on and siphon people's energy, and also to cloak themselves and stay hidden as well, it seems.
Okay. That's interesting because the whole issue of receptivity to non-physical outside entities is a big subject. And you had mentioned the whole plant medicine world, and usually when people use that term, they're referring to natural psychedelics, and from cooked herbs of different kinds mixed together, originally from South America, and becoming more popular. And I've noticed that one of the things about that, and it's not necessarily related to what you're talking about, but interesting, and that's that people see things that it seems they might not be totally ready for. And there's a certain destabilization that happens in a lot of them, that they start being subject to things they don't understand. And getting those lessons grounded into their current state is really not what happened in a lot of their first experiences, and they end up being destabilized in some ways. And I would, right, I don't know if you've noticed that, and people have gone through that. It's pretty striking. And
that's right.
And so it brings up the general question of long-term results. In other words, with the tones that you're working with, I would think it would not have the problem that the so-called plant medicine has, because very subtle, natural or not, I mean, the fact that something's natural, it can still kill you. You can eat organic, natural oleander leaves, and you're probably going to end your physical existence in this spot. And it's totally natural and wonderful, right? And hemlock that Socrates drank was probably organic and natural. So,
no pesticides.
Right, but the brain is really delicate, and if you put chemistry into it, whether it came from a natural source or not, and you don't know everything about it, it's very easily destabilized. Whereas I would think that if you're doing a non-chemical approach, like you're talking about with the music, it wouldn't be subject to that problem. I'm just guessing.
Yeah, you're right. It does sort of bypass those kinds of issues, and it's an interesting conversation, the whole opening up to these other levels or intelligences, and it sort of it doesn't bring any of those complications into the process, and it's not destabilizing like you've seen. And I've seen plant medicine destabilize people as well, and it's like, it's like, dude,
they forget to mention it in the brochure, right?
That's right. Yeah, it's not mentioned. It might be in the fine print somewhere. It's like, I mean, you see people kind of lose their sense of self and lose their way, and they don't know whether they're coming or going, and it's like,
they've seen things they don't really know how to deal with, and my sense is they're not ready yet. It takes a lot of stability, incredible stability and maturity to deal with non-physical entities and be okay and keep the sense of yourself. Whereas with the music, I would think it would be a more healing, supportive, comforting type thing rather than threatening.
Yeah, it's definitely not threatening.
Some of those things that people see in the plant medicine thing are definitely threatening.
Yeah.
Right.
That's right.
Gone through some trauma, but it sounds like the reaction, and I don't have any experience at all with what you're talking about, but just from what you're saying, it sounds like the reactions would all be positive.
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of interesting, like, with medicine in general, not that I wouldn't say I'm practicing medicine, but you're kind of dealing with like a quasi-shamanic form of medicine, right? Using sound like that. And there's always, with medicine, stuff happens. Like sometimes you can't predict things that might occur, like there might be complications or whatever. But I mean, the good thing about this approach is it's totally non-harmful. It really can't do like the worst thing it could possibly do is nothing.
That's what I would have guessed, right?
Yeah, right. That's the worst case scenario. But it's a really gentle, like if you're someone who wants to stimulate like the Kundalini and like accelerate your kind of spiritual development, this is a very gentle, systematic, controlled way of doing it. And I've had people who've had like uncontrolled Kundalini kind of experiences, and they've gone through this with me, and they're like, wow, this is like,
again, it's stuff you're not ready for, right?
Yeah, and it's not out of control,
Yeah. Well, it sounds good. So is this offering that you're doing now that was in the meme that Doug showed me, is this the first time you're doing this on a group basis, or what's the background for it?
So we've put this form of, our activation ceremonies, we've put them into a broader program. So it's called Evolve Yourself. That's the broader program. So we have a community now. We have a website based around this, an actual community where people come in, and it's not just like we used to do where someone comes to me and books in for an activation, and then they go on their way. Now it's like, okay, we have a container for this where we can gather, we can ask questions, we can communicate and converse and all that sort of stuff. And there's also some additional like structure and supportive materials so that you can sort of work more closely with me for a start, whereas, instead of being off on your own, and you know where the container is, and you can come back and go, okay, so here's the next step, this is, okay, where was that information? I can come back and check that out again, so it's a lot more supportive, I'd say, than previously, yeah.
Okay, so what part of that is before they participate in the group, and what part is, when they're just trying to check it out and learn about it, and what part of it is after for the members that have, gone through your activity?
I guess for people who are like interested in learning about it, it's a good way to do that is checking out the masterclass, which I'm going to run on the 30th. So that's 4 days away. Okay, perfect. So we'll get into a little bit of an overview of the sort of the terrain in general, and then I'll talk a bit more about this work we're doing in the Evolve Yourself program. And that will give people sort of, I think, a good idea of whether or not they want to sort of go down that road with me.
Okay, and what kind of format are you using for that masterclass? Is that interactive, or are you just talking and they get to hear what you're saying, or how does that work?
Yeah, it's mostly going to be talking head, but we'll do some Q&A at the end, I think. Yeah.
Through text?
Well, good question. Last time we did text, we might open it up to the mics. I'm not sure.
Okay. Yeah, it's interesting trying to decide what's better between interaction on text and verbal, because verbal, it seems like it would be better, but it's a lot more restricted because you can't get as many comments. And the other way, people can talk constantly on the text.
Yeah. Yeah, we don't want the background noise, so we'll probably go with text, I think.
Yeah, that's good. But people could get their questions ready, and so that's what got me curious about it is seeing the meme that announced it. Why don't you tell people what the date is and how, if they're interested in the free masterclass, which is no commitment, no money, just to learn more about what you're going to be doing, how do they get into that masterclass if they feel like doing that?
Okay, so to book your seat in that, just go to, the easiest way is to go to evolveyourself.live, Live.
Okay.
And that's where you book. So that's pretty straightforward. Just
okay.
Yeah, just make sure you check your email after that and check your junk and spam folders to see where the confirmation email ended up.
And so now we've got people that might hear about that from anywhere in the world. I guess some of them, if they want to join you, would have to get up in the middle of the night, depending on where they live, right?
Yeah, unfortunately, that's the way that it works on a globe Earth, or flat maybe too. But so we will, for people who can't make it live, there will be a replay available. So if you do opt in, like if you do book your seat for it anyway, you'll get notified about the replay afterwards.
Okay, so what is the date and time in your time zone, and then we'll figure it out for other people.
Okay, so for us, it's going to be Tuesday night, the 30th of July at 7 p.m. That's Australian Eastern Standard Time.
7:30, July 30th at what time?
7 o'clock.
Okay, and so what does that mean like in the U.S. and in Europe?
Well, you were saying how many hours behind were you? I can't remember.
Well, I'm in Arizona, which this time of year is Pacific time. And I think it's when we're recording this discussion, it's 6:30 at night. And I think I'm 9 hours later than you, but the day before.
Yeah, okay.
So if that's the case, that means for Pacific time, 9 hours later than 7 p.m. would be 4 in the morning. And that would be the day before. So that would be the 29th at 4 a.m. So that's not impossible. If somebody wanted to get up early, they could do that. And for Eastern time, it would be 3 hours later. So that would be 7 a.m.
That's much more pleasant.
Not too bad. Not too bad. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
But they can go to that. Tell me that address again that they can go to sign up if they want to.
Evolveyourself.live.
Live. Okay.
Yep.
Evolve yourself. Are there W's before evolve yourself or not?
You don't have to type them in.
It's probably optional, huh?
Yeah, I did it without doing it, so yeah, it should be fine.
Okay. All right. And if somebody has a question before the event actually starts, is there any way to send you that question?
Yeah, they could find me on Facebook and drop me a message in there. So I'm not hard to find. It's Brendan D. Murphy. Drop me a message, PM the page, or you could email me at brendandmurphy@protonmail.ch.
Brendan D. Murphy at protonmail.ch.
Yeah, that's it.
protonmail.ch. Okay, that's great, because if people are just thinking about it, they go to the website and they say, well, what about this? Or, they have just a specific question relating it to something else that they do know about. Then, since I know absolutely nothing about this except what you're teaching me right this minute, you would be the person for them to ask. And that should work out great.
Yeah, it should be easy.
Okay, so what else important did we not cover that you think they should know, if anything?
Oh, wow. Good question. Well, I think the masterclass is going to be really interesting, that we're going to cover a pretty diverse range of material. Like, I really wanted to capture why it is that we often struggle to grow and to evolve and become the kind of human we want to become, and get out of our comfort zone and all this kind of thing, right? Like, overcome the stuff that holds us back. So I'm going to touch on a lot of those things, and then obviously the Evolve Yourself program is something that helps people to actually move forward quite organically and without the usual sort of gimmicks or challenges and limitations that, you know, a lot of modalities bring. But
Sure.
yeah, I mean, it's a really deep conversation when you get into the sound work and that what it is doing and what it's addressing and that kind of thing. So I don't know, maybe that's another conversation.
Yeah, we can do more later, but I just wanted to let people know the general idea of what it's all about and how they can ask you questions and how they can get access to it through, let's go over that once more, Brendan D. Murphy at protonmail.ch with any questions, and evolveyourself.live to get access to the free class to decide if you want to do more with it. So
that's it.
Okay. Thank you, Brendan. It sounds like it's going to be a great event, and let us know how it goes.
Thank you so much, Richard. I really appreciate it, mate.
All right. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. Ciao.